Get home from school, turn on my TV. Who are these friends staring right back at me? Now that we're old.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jessica, and this is 90s Babies Nostalgia, where two 90s babies are having some fun.
Just to be clear, we're not sponsored by nor affiliated with any of the production companies, film studios, actors, or anything that we're talking about. We just really like talking about movies. And today we are talking about Challengers. This is so exciting because it is the talk of Twitter, and it's like the perfect blend of our content because A, it's new, so that's like our remix content. B, it has Zendaya, Disney princess, so that's like our classic content. And C, it's gay as hell.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's not to love about that?
Yeah. It's like the perfect intermixing of everything that we love.
Absolutely. We've both watched it. Just for people listening or watching, if you don't know, this is not a spoiler-free zone. If you haven't seen the movie, you should probably go do that. However, we will try, because it's in theaters as of recording this and probably as of putting this out, we'll try not to go into too many details, but it's not going to be spoiler-free, just like your Twitter timeline isn't. So if you're worried about that, you should go watch it. And do go watch it.
Yeah, definitely worth the watch. But yeah, we're going to try to keep it, I don't even want to say spoiler light, but lighter on the spoilers than we normally do. But it's still going to ruin it if you haven't seen it. So definitely go give it a watch.
But before we get into it, Jessica, what have you been enjoying lately?
Okay, so outside of just life, I really have not had much time to do other things, I guess. So I was struggling to come up with something, but Amanda knows, and you guys know, I have still been playing a lot of Stardew, but on top of playing Stardew, I have also been watching a lot of streamers stream Stardew.
I love that for you. Stardew is to Jess what Smosh is to Amanda currently.
Yeah, I'm like, I could be going in the Skull Caverns myself, but also I could be watching someone else do it, and how exciting is that? Obviously, I've been watching Julian in our YouTube video. I'm a huge Jenna Julian person, so he's playing Stardew for the first time ever. He never played it prior to this new update, and so his streams, I know, so his streams have been super, super fun because he's like a true newbie to it. And then one of my favorite streamers, Gab Smolders, she does like a bunch of horror games, a bunch of mystery games, and then her other segment is cozy games. So she's had like 3 or 4 different Stardew playthroughs, and hers is like awesome, so fun. And she just like, she's someone who like reads all of the dialogue in voices to you, so if you really like the storytelling of games, I highly recommend listening to her streams because they're just great.
Nice. That Julian playing it now reminds me of, yes, I know, but whatever, of Smosh. I've told you, they're playing Five Nights at Freddy's for the first time.
Yes.
And they're doing that, like, the 2 people playing, one knew nothing about it, the other one knew all of the lore, but had never played it before. And I think it's that sense of, it's like a cultural phenomenon, right? Like at this point, Five Nights at Freddy's and Stardew are so big on the internet that everyone knows about them, even if they haven't played them.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like magical or special to watch someone 5 years after their heights then experiencing it properly for the first time.
Totally. And it's just funny when he has like new people come to chat and they'll be like, oh, who have you romanced before? He's like, oh no, this is my first time. And they're like, oh, like, who are you thinking of romancing this time? And he's like, I don't know anything. Like,
yeah, with Five Nights at Freddy's, Shane knows all the lore from like MatPat videos, but Amanda knows nothing, and he doesn't spoil anything for her because he wants her to try to figure it out. So she'll be like, is that what's going on? I think it's gonna be this, and this is haunting them, and blah blah blah. And he's like, I don't know, I'm just gonna have to wait and find out.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love that. What have you been enjoying lately?
This is so New York of me. Like, I'm so sorry to people that live elsewhere, but I have been enjoying the theater. But also, this is your reminder that the theater exists literally everywhere. People are not born in New York and on the stage. I mean, some people probably are because nepotism exists. But, there are amateur and professional theaters all over the country, all over the world, and a lot of Broadway shows go on tour. And so I saw Sweeney Todd, as Jess knows, a couple nights ago, and that was really the highlight in an otherwise eventful week. I got to see Joe Locke from Heartstopper in his Broadway debut. It's no longer
Oh,
on. It's no longer on Broadway as of this episode coming out because it's the closing week that we're recording this. But it was really great. And then, so I went for him, but the leads were played by Sutton Foster and Aaron Tveit. I never know how to pronounce his name, but they're both like huge Broadway people, and they were so talented. And I just forget how talented humans are until I go to a theater production and I'm like, holy crap.
Broadway artists are like next level. Like they're a different breed of human. Like the amount of talent in those individuals. And you have to think it's something crazy, like 9 shows a week or something. Maybe
It's usually
even more than
eight,
that.
eight or
Yeah.
nine. Yeah. Because it's every day and then 1 or 2 days there's matinees.
Yeah. So they're keeping that up too. Like that level of talent.
I know. Broadway aside, I saw an off-Broadway production a couple weeks ago as well. That was like really great because those people are involved in theater. They're involved in nonprofit theater. And one of them, I just went because one of them is my friend and I heard her singing and I was like, holy crap. Like everyone's just so talented. I had a great time. And, all of these people started somewhere. So go see your productions somewhere. Go see live theater. Like film and television are fun, but live theater is like, I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's completely different. It's a different experience.
Also, I was very proud of our boy.
I know. I love that you went and saw him. I would have loved to watch it. And Amanda afterwards was like, he was so good.
Yeah, because Broadway's struggling a bit, and one of the things that they do a lot to get people in the seats is to fill the cast with celebrities, which I think is probably a double-edged sword because you get people in the seats, but you're also taking away opportunities from professional stage actors.
Yeah.
But I'm always like skeptical about that. I've heard of some people not being able to like fill the roles. I've only been to 2 celebrity cast that way. I saw Jinx Monsoon in Chicago, who's a drag queen, and then this. And I knew Joe had done theater before Heartstopper, but he didn't do it like West End. This was his Broadway debut. Heartstopper's the only professional like acting he's done. He's done like community and theater and stuff like that before. And so I was worried that he wouldn't be able to hold his own, but he absolutely could. And his voice was so good.
Oh, I love that.
And he's just like little baby.
He is baby.
And he plays the guy that gets to kill Sweeney Todd in the end. So, spoiler alert if you didn't know. He dies. Can we just briefly discuss?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the theater and people think the theater is expensive. And look, it kind of is. But when I went to see Challengers, you know how much money I spent?
How much?
$50.
Why?
The ticket was $26. Then there was like a $2.50 processing fee. Then when I showed up to the theater, because I had plans before, I forgot to buy snacks. So I bought 2 bags of candy. That's it. And a soda. And that was $20. So all in all, it was $50 to see a movie in an AMC theater.
Yeah. I do think it's expensive, and it's always been expensive.
But not like that.
I know. But my husband and I went together, and afterwards, both of us were like, we need to do this more often. It's a relatively cheap date because our tickets were not as much as yours. For both tickets, it was like $35 or $36. Yeah, so it's just over like $15 a ticket. I just picked the movie theater with the time that worked best for our schedules, and it's brand new, super nice dine-in service. And I was like, literally we showed up and he was like, of course you picked the fanciest one. I'm like, I had no clue. Like I didn't choose this. And we both got a drink and popcorn to share.
Mhm.
And I think the cost of the 2 drinks and popcorn to share was just over $30 with tip. So like all in, it was under $70, which like if you go out to dinner for 2, it's more than that. So we were like, oh, this is like a relatively, it's still $70 is crazy for a date, but a relatively inexpensive date in today's world.
Yeah. And there are some really fun independent theaters or small theater chains, especially if you live in a big city like LA or New York, that do dining differently and maybe the cost of tickets are comparable. Or conversely, I have a lot of friends that are AMC Stubs members and they say it's absolutely worth it. You go like twice a month and it basically is paid for. But I just personally tend to only go to the theater like the movie theater like 4 times a year-ish. Sometimes I wanna go more. I just felt like we haven't had nearly as many good theatrical releases since COVID, which
Yeah.
is a thing, you know? Movies stopped making as much money.
Yeah. And then strikes played into that too. So it was like movies stopped making that much money. And then now we're just having a lack of films because of the strikes that happened.
And a lot of them are going to streaming if they did happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, but this one, I feel Challengers is, like, exciting because it's, like, bringing that blockbuster energy back.
Yeah.
It really felt like I was watching a little video essay by Daniel J. Layton earlier before recording this about how Zendaya could be either the last proper movie star or the first of a new wave of proper movie stars
Mm.
because so many films you go to for like the name of the franchise, like the Barbie movie and the Marvel movies, and they don't, it's not for like the star power, but it's like you were saying before we started recording, your husband didn't know anything about this. You couldn't explain it really. Everyone's just going to this as like it's the Zendaya
Yeah.
tennis throuple movie. It's like it's
Yeah.
purely for Zendaya.
He was like, "What is this movie?" And I was like, "It's a sports romance." And he was like, like Drive to Survive." And I was like, "No, babe, not like the F1 documentary. Like, not the same." And he was like, "Huh. Okay." And he just accepted that and went along with it. But it's like, I didn't even really, I knew more than him from like, obviously, I've seen the trailers and I know more about Zendaya and all these things than he does. But even I was like, I don't really know what to expect.
I sat down in that theater and said, I can't believe I am watching a movie about tennis. And then a third of the way through, I thought, I can't believe this many people are showing up to such an artsy movie about tennis.
Tennis.
But
Yeah.
like not even just the tennis, but it's like a proper artsy film as well.
Yes.
So getting into that star power, we wanted to kick things off with sort of a rundown of the evolution of our Miss Zendaya.
Normally we go into each actor a little bit and we will do that, but we're going to do like a full evolution of Zendaya because she really does have that much going on. So she started as a child model and dancer in a hip hop dance troupe in Oakland. And then she went on to attend the Oakland School of Arts where she was cast in like several live theater productions in the Bay Area, including the Berkeley Playhouse, which a lot of actors who start in live theater get started in the Berkeley Playhouse. And then they moved to LA when she was in 7th grade so she could pursue a career in acting. And leading up to her Disney fame, we're not quite there yet. She was in a bunch of commercials, but she also was in the Kid Spot music video for Hot and Cold in, oh, I don't think I wrote it here, but I think it was around 2009-ish.
And then getting into Disney, not speaking of, but in the way that casting works differently for different kinds of people, whereas Bella Thorne was pretty much hand selected despite having no dance experience, Zendaya beat out 200 people in auditions to get cast for Shake It Up with her wealth of theater and dance experience.
Mm-hmm.
And she was cast as Rocky Blue in Shake It Up, which had one of the highest premieres ever for Disney Channel from 2010 to 2013. Also, what a lot of people consider the decline of Disney Channel, but this is not that episode. It was 6.2 million viewers.
Yeah. Which is like kind of crazy to think that many people were sitting down and watching Disney Channel TV show on the premiere date.
Yeah, that was truly the height of Disney Channel for sure.
Yeah. While starring in Shake It Up, she started her music career as well. So she released the singles Swag It Out and then Watch Me, which was in collaboration with Bella Thorne. And that one peaked at 86 on the top 100 charts. And this is kind of what led her to be signed by Hollywood Records in 2012. And then she released her self titled album in 2013, which the lead single Reply, which I think all of us know,
Replay.
I know. I was like, this says reply, but that's not what it is. Sorry, guys.
Gonna put that song on replay.
Yeah. It reached top 40.
I didn't even know that.
Which is like, you have to think, like, this girl's on Disney, pretty newly on Disney. She doesn't really have that much else going on. A couple singles for that lead single to hit top 40 is a pretty big deal, especially for how old she was at the time. Like, that's very, very impressive.
And for that to be a Hollywood record song, which Hollywood didn't do a lot for its artists outside of Disney Channel. The artists themselves had to bring that kind of power, like the Jonas Brothers or Hannah Montana. All of her other songs were from within Shake It Up. Disney made her and Bella Thorne sing those songs like TTYL, XOX, which also, by the way, just side note, tangential, Bella Thorne, no dancing experience, dyslexic, had to learn how to dance for this dance show, and they made her sing a song called TTYL, XOX. So rude.
Not okay. Not okay. Also, just the fact that you're making someone with no dance experience who also is dyslexic learn how to dance.
Who has admitted that her dyslexia impacts her right and left coordination.
Like, that sounds like my worst nightmare.
She said that the only thing she didn't want was to be cast in like a dancing thing, and then she was.
They're like, here you go. How rude.
Yeah. Anyway, Zendaya continued with Disney after Shake It Up with Casey Undercover from 2015 to 2018, where not only did she influence the title character and a series, but also like she had a lot of influence and served as a producer on this show, which I thought was really cool and important that she decided, if I'm going to stay with Disney, I'm going to learn and grow in my career. I'm not going to just like do the same thing I already did with Shake It Up.
Yeah, like she influenced them changing the name of the show from the pilot, the name of the character. Like, there was so much that she had influence over, which is just, it's just very impressive.
I know she said it that at one point that she wanted to make Disney cool again, like referencing Kim Possible and Raven. And I think she did feel some pressure because there hadn't been a Black family on Disney Channel since Raven.
I'm sure that's a lot of pressure and not a pressure that a child should be feeling.
Yeah.
Around the same time, she competed on season 16 of Dancing with the Stars, and she finished runner-up to Kelly Pickler, which I was like, this just really feels like the Midwest was voting here, because I just cannot imagine that Kelly Pickler was a better dancer than Zendaya.
I mean, who watches and votes on Dancing with the Stars if not a bunch of Midwestern mothers?
Fair. And at that time, she was the youngest participant to ever participate in Dancing with the Stars.
She started going kind of mainstream, as Jess put it. I would call this her era of mainstream success, which was done really smartly because she was in Spider-Man Homecoming in 2017 and The Greatest Showman in 2017. And Casey Undercover didn't finish until 2018, which is why I said it's so smart, because like she wasn't even out of Disney yet, which isn't really something we had seen before. Usually the transition happened like the years after the show.
Yeah.
But that management team was on it. So she played Michelle, which is the reimagining of MJ in Spider-Man, and has reprised the role and continues to. I believe it's been announced that she's in another one, but I'm not sure if that was real or if that was a Twitter prank. And then Greatest Showman, she starred opposite Zac Efron, where they had a duet called Rewrite the Stars, which, by the way, great song, reached the top 20. And it was weird for me to watch it, to be like, but she's younger Disney and he's older Disney. What is this?
Yeah. It's like the connection of the two worlds. When I was reading up on this, for The Greatest Showman, for her screen test, she made the decision to wear no makeup. And so then they chose to carry out that decision throughout production, which I'm just like, she's so cool. Like,
what's crazy about that is I love that movie and I've never noticed that she's not wearing makeup. Like, she's just that naturally beautiful.
Oh, yeah. You know her skincare regime. Like, she's probably getting facials once a week. Like, she doesn't need to wear makeup, you know?
Yeah. I also remember Zac Efron saying that Zendaya really helped with the physicality of the role because they're. Have you seen Greatest Showman?
No.
Oh, it's great. I love it. It's one of my favorite like musicals of the 2010s. In Rewrite the Stars, she's a trapeze artist in the film, and he's like not PT Barnum, but the other guy, or he is PT. Anyway, he's one of the ringleaders.
Okay.
So their duet number, they're on a trapeze, like moving around the circus arena, and it's like a very physical number that was kind of like out of his element, but she's got such a dance experience and like is so willing to just try things that it helped make him more confident. It's just like, again, she's so cool.
Yeah, she really is. She's throughout her career done a bunch of stuff in fashion, but it's all around this like 2016 time frame when it starts. So she released shoe and clothing collections in 2016, and her clothing collection that she released was all gender fluid. Plus, she made sure it had full range of sizes.
My gay heart.
I know. And it's like, you have to think that's 2016. Like, having full range of sizes is like necessary and still not commonplace now in 2024. So the fact that she made sure that that happened in 2016 is actually a really big deal. And then in 2018, she was Tommy Hilfiger's ambassador, and she was praised for her runway shows because she had super diverse cast, very inclusive cast. She had models that were 70 years old. She had people of all body types. She just truly all like forms of diversity and inclusivity. She made sure to show on those runway shows.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to point out she fucking slays every single red carpet and Met Gala look, and she's known for her longstanding partnership with her stylist La Roche, who actually in 2023 announced retiring from fashion, except for his partnership with Zendaya, because he was like, "No, that's love. Like that's I will never stop working with her." And as recently as last week, they released it was a photo shoot that she did as Tashi Duncan in as styled by him for a quote unquote challengers magazine.
Cute.
I just love every look that she's ever done. Like I love those memes of her showing up to the Dune 2 red carpet in London, and she's like all out in this like gold armor suit, and then Timothy Chalamet is just kind of like there in a normal ass outfit, and how people are like, you really like you don't attend a red carpet with Zendaya without asking her what she's wearing first.
Yeah, you gotta show up. Then she went on to star in Euphoria from 2019 to now. I think the new season is coming out, question mark?
That's the sorry. That is what it is. It's question mark. So technically there's supposed to be a third season. It's been greenlit, but the writer says that he's not sure about like how it's going to go, and he keeps like putting off writing it. And then HBO like considered getting someone else to write it, but Sydney Sweeney and Jacob Elordi and Zendaya have all said they'll only do it if he writes it. So it's just like, maybe if he ever does,
then they'll have it. Interesting. But she played Rue Bennett, and she was the youngest recipient of a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series twice for Euphoria. So she's won that twice. And then the first one that she won, she was the youngest winner of the award, winning it at 24.
wow.
And then she's also, this is what I think so fascinating and cool about like her evolution, but also like staying true to her roots, is like she's also written and performed several songs for Euphoria too. So it feels like every project she's involved with, she really flexes all of her different creative muscles for that project.
Yeah, because I didn't even know that she still really sang. I knew that she could, but I didn't know that she did. But I think you're right that she tries to get as much out of each project as she can.
Yeah. She also has starred in Dune and Dune Part 2, which was released this year, which a lot of this has led in more recent interviews, when people are talking about Challengers and the ending of Challengers, which we will get into, they have all jokes that like, oh, maybe we'll have a Challengers part 2 since she was in Dune part 2.
I don't see that happening, but that's cool. It's
I
funny.
I don't either. We'll get into that, but yeah, based on comments that the director and writer has said, I don't think that's ever happening. She also was Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world in 2022. So she just is like staying relevant.
Yeah. And I really want to give a shout out here to the next gen Disney adults because I feel like I love Disney Channel. It's why we have this podcast, but I don't take slander on any generation. And I know people debate about what was the golden era, and they're really only ever talking about two generations of Disney. It's either the Lizzie Raven generation or it's the Hannah Selena generation. And they say after that everything was downhill and who even was on Disney. And that really starts with like Shake It Up and Ant Farm. First of all, China Anne McClain is a superstar in her own right, even if she continues to work on Disney. Like that's another thing. But along with Zendaya's generation, we got Sabrina Carpenter, who is currently dominating the radio. We also got Olivia Rodrigo. Yes, they were on Disney Channel at the same time. Brief overlap before Olivia went on to High School Musical, the series, who is also dominating the radio. And like, it's just really fun to watch them blossom into these careers. And they are adult careers. They're covering adult themes with their music, with their
Yeah.
projects. They're all heavily involved in the production or songwriting or whatever. And they never had that big like phase of that people would say Miley and Bella and Demi and all of them had of like drugs and partying and being crazy, quote unquote crazy, you know? They just like are fucking killing it.
Yeah. I think part of that is probably connected to like how media coverage has kind of shifted from it being like, you know, when Miley and all of them were like the big thing of Disney Channel, it was all like paparazzi and leaked photos and tabloids, and those still exist, but now it's more like social media. And like, yes, you have hate that's very loud on social media, but you also have love that's very loud. And I feel like that probably has led to them leading like maybe more just like not normal, but like a normal pop star life, and less of the like drugs and wanting to go through crazy changes and things like that, because I'm hoping their experience is not as like awful as some of these early Disney stars were.
Getting into our movie,
Yeah.
finally, the Challengers. It's not the Challengers. I think it's just Challengers.
It's just Challengers. It is a romantic sports drama. As I mentioned before, that's what they classified it as. What that means, I don't know. Watched it, still don't know. But it was delayed from its initial September 2023 release date due to the strikes, and it premiered a month ago, so March 26th. In Sydney, Australia, and then it was released on April 26th in the US.
It was a $55 million budget, and so far it's made $34.6 million at the start of weekend 2 at the box office. So it's definitely looking to exceed its budget.
Yes, it's not a box office smash so far by any means, but it will probably make money since we're still very early on into its box office run. It was the best domestic opening weekend of Guadagnino's, I looked up how to pronounce his name like 4 times, Guadagnino's career, and also of Zendaya's career, but only for a non-IP film, which I don't think she's done that many of, so...
Oh, I was confused when I first read this note, but you mean like that's not an adaptation the way Dune and Spider-Man are.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Compared to all her other films like Greatest Showman and things like that, I don't know if that's considered IP, but it has done the best.
Greatest Showman is not IP, but I don't think it was a huge success.
Yeah.
I also am pretty sure this is the first film that Zendaya's, aside from DCOMs, that Zendaya's been the lead of.
Then we have our director, Luca Guadagnino. His feature film debut was in 1999, which was The Protagonist with Tilda Swinton. He's really, really known for basically casting the same actors all the time in all his films. Like Tilda's been in like 4 of his films. Like he just, and like his producers, his writers, like all the people he's worked with, he's known for keeping a really, really small group.
A lot of
around him.
directors do that, though.
Yeah, yeah. I think especially ones that have very specific style, which I would
Mhm.
argue he does, it makes sense that it's a very small knit of people to bring that to life. He's also known for the Desire trilogy, which is I Am Love in 2009, A Bigger Splash in 2015, and then I would say the most well known, or at least to me, of those 3 is Call Me By Your Name in 2017.
Absolutely, and that started his career with Timothée Chalamet, who he works with a lot now, and also worked with in Bones and All in 2022. I was always surprised, like, I know directors like to do this to say the whatever trilogy or something, and it's, like, a few different films, but I was kinda surprised that Call Me By Your Name was considered part of a trilogy because it's an adaptation and the other 2 aren't.
Yeah, and it did confuse me because I'm like, I don't understand what makes this a trilogy, but that's what it's referred to as.
It's a trilogy of the director's works related to Desire, I guess, but one could argue this is a Desire film.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's just, like, director ego shit, right?
Yeah. Also, like everything's made up. So, like, he probably was just like, oh, these are all related to this. Let's call it a trilogy, you know?
That's so true.
Yeah. Then we have our writer, Justin Kuritzkitz. Guys, very random, but he's known for having a viral YouTube video in 2011 called Potion Seller. Have you ever watched it?
No, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, me neither. I briefly looked at it. It was when like Apple, what was that called? Like the camera features where you could like make your face all crazy and like blown out. He was just using that on the Mac computer and like saying crazy things. I didn't watch the whole thing.
That's so funny.
But he was the author of the novel Famous People, which came out in 2019. But this is really his like first time writing a full film.
Which is crazy, or at least one that's been made, and I
Yeah.
find that crazy not just that, like, I don't know, he's not that experienced. It's because this is a well done film. Like, this is a well written film. The
Yeah.
narrative structure is unique and complicated. Screenplays involve like the direction and the detail as well. It's such
Hmm.
a collective effort. Obviously, the director has a lot at the end of the day, but I can only imagine how detailed this script was.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Also, fun fact, he is the husband of Celine Song, who wrote and directed Past Lives, which
Mm.
was hugely critically acclaimed film last year, an A24 film. I haven't seen it, but I understand it also has throuple vibes,
Oh.
a plotline. My understanding is it's about a woman who is already married who like reconnects with her childhood best friend who she was always kind of in love with and he was always kind of in love with her. And like, yeah. And so my friend was telling me that there's people being like, okay, so when does their third write their own film also about a throuple?
Oh my God.
Come out of the woodwork.
The internet gossip is too much. Too much.
Getting into our cast. Zendaya, who is 27 right now, as we discussed. We're not going, anyway, plays Tashi Donaldson / Duncan, and also was a producer on this.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So Tashi is a tennis player who showed a lot of promise in high school and was going to go pro and goes to college to be smart first, but gets an injury. And so now she, for the majority of the film, serves as a coach to Art Donaldson.
Yes, who is played by Mike Faist, who is 32 right now. And he is a professional tennis player fighting for a spot in the US Open.
He being Art, not Mike.
Yeah, Art. He plays Art Donaldson. But Mike originated the role, mostly Broadway, actually, guys.
Mhm.
So he originated the role of Morris Delancey in Newsies on Broadway in 2011. He also originated the role of Connor Murphy in Dear Evan Hansen from 2015 to 2018, where he was nominated for a Tony and he won a Grammy for Best Musical Theater Album. And he also won a Daytime Emmy for that performance as well. And then more recently, he played Riff in Steven Spielberg's film adaptation of West Side Story that came out in 2021.
The theater girls on Twitter are obsessed with this twink. I see
Yeah.
so many tweets about him and
Yeah.
people being like, look at what a haircut can do for you, because he used to have really long hair, and other people being like, you don't know what a big deal it was when he got that haircut and how he mourned the loss of it. And just so much silliness.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
love fan culture. I just love it.
I love fan culture, but tangent side note, one thing I don't love that's been a big part of the current, at least on our Twitter feed, Twitter fan culture themes has been a lot of like, oh, you think you're a real fan? Where were you when blah, 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 blah? Like, there's the Mike fans, but it happens a lot with Sabrina Carpenter fans, like talking about, oh, well, where were you when she released her album when she was still on Disney Channel and blah, 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 you know?
Yeah.
And
Like gatekeeping.
exactly.
I'm not for gatekeeping in anything.
Exactly. Same.
Yeah.
Next, we have Josh O'Connor, who is currently 33. He plays Patrick Zweig. He is a struggling, broke-ass tennis player trying to compete for a spot in the Open this year, just like Art Donaldson. We'll get into that in a bit. Josh O'Connor is just like the goofiest, hottest-looking man that I've ever seen. He's was in God's Own Country, which he won a British Independent Film Award for Best Actor for. He was in Emma with that girl whose name I keep forgetting, but she's in the new Mad Max movie. He was notably Prince Charles in The Crown in seasons 3 and 4, and he did such a good job that it made it hard for me to watch when the 5th season came out and it was a different actor. He won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Drama Series for that. He's been cast in an upcoming film, The History of Sound, with Paul Mescal, which is a gay World War I movie.
We're going to need to cover that one.
Oh, yeah. It's about two guys who go to World War I to, like, record the sounds of war and fall in love.
Oh, sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm already sold.
Also, in an interview in the last year, an interviewer asked Kit Connor who is the hottest person on Earth right now, and without skipping a beat, he said, Josh O'Connor.
He's not wrong.
He's not. And then I just have to note, like, I love the Twitter trend right now of people saying that he's in a gay off with Nicholas Galitzine, who is the guy from Red, White, and Royal Blue, the prince in it.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's because right now Nicholas Galitzine has done 5 queer roles, and so has Joshua O'Connor. But also Nick was in Bottoms, but he played a straight character, but Bottoms is a very gay film, and now O'Connor's slated for the World War I movie, so that will be his 6th one. So they're like, it's a gay off. Nicholas Glincy has said that he is straight. Joshua O'Connor has never explicitly stated any sexuality. So a lot of people like to joke about them being gay for pay.
Oh.
And being in competition and like just imagining that every queer role audition they like see each other in the movie,
yeah,
you know?
That's funny. All the casting calls to the two of them.
Yeah.
Then we have Darnell Appling, who played the umpire. He's actually just Zendaya's assistant. Like, he is not an actor. He's literally just her assistant for like many, many, many years.
And has the smoothest, butteriest voice.
Yeah.
When you first start the film, you hear the voice before anything else. And I thought that it might be a woman. And then we zoom in and it's not. But it's just like so calm and gentle and hilarious at times when they're like foul, obscene use of language or something like very calm, a little feminine, but still like being firm.
Yeah, or the one where he's like, aggressive behavior with a racket, or whatever he says.
Yeah. AJ Lister is Lily Donaldson, Tashi and Art's daughter, and then Nada Despotovich is Tashi's mother. She was in Moonstruck, Picture Perfect, and Jingle All the Way. There are other people, but they really don't matter. Jess wrote a few out, and I was like, I don't know who these people are. Like, I forgot Tashi even had a father in this.
Yeah, I pre-wrote them based on what the wiki and IMDb said was the main characters. And then after watching it, I was like, these people were not main characters. The hell?
So our summary, we're not going to do the full 90s baby
No.
summary. We're just going to let you know the gist of it, okay? Art Donaldson is a tennis celebrity whose confidence and motivation is shaking from just like he's been failing a lot. He's recovering from a previous injury and he's clearly not motivated. Tashi Donaldson, previously Tashi Duncan, is his wife and former tennis hopeful whose career was ended early by a severe knee injury. Trigger warning to anyone who's going to go watch this film. That is something that I have heard people talk about being hard to watch because I jumped. Yeah. She's his coach and she brings him to like a small local qualifier match for the Open, seeing like it'll boost your confidence because you're going to win no matter what, only for him to be playing against Patrick Zweig, who is his old doubles partner.
Through non-linear flashbacks, we learn the complicated past of Tashi, Art, and Patrick's relationships, from the two vying for Tashi's attention when they were teenagers, her indecisiveness, and the way it impacted both of their careers. And then the entire present day storyline that we watch takes place within the qualifier match.
That's the film, literally.
Uh-huh.
I was so surprised by the narrative structure. I think that's the note that I want to start on, is just that, like, I knew that it was the gay tennis throuple movie with Zendaya and Josh O'Connor and, like, the theater twink. And that was my impression going in. For it to be a non-linear narrative, I don't know that I've ever seen that in a major theatrical release. And it's very rare to see it in film in general.
Especially the way it's done, because it's not like you get a couple flashbacks. You get interweaving flashbacks and callbacks to different points in time throughout the entire film.
Yeah, and they do that really smart thing where you'll get one flashback and then they reference a previous moment that then you get another flashback for later, so it leaves you interested. And the actual present day is truly only this match.
Yeah.
Because I think usually when you see flashbacks, there's like a little more progression in the present day timeline, but it's truly just this match.
Yeah, it's like the decision to put him in this match, getting to the match, and the match itself, and that's really all that happens in present day.
But even some of that's in flashback. I remember it starts with the umpire calling that they were like neck and neck, and then it's the first flashback's like 48 hours earlier, and it's them like signing up and getting ready, and you get introduced to the characters closer to this present day. It's all like within the last week, the first few flashbacks, and then you get the big flashback of when they all met each other. Well, when the boys met Zendaya, I should say. And then you get more of like as they grew up. It's just like, it was such a bold choice to me. And I think a non-linear narrative is hard to pull off as well as they did.
Oh, it was done so well. I also think it was helped by the fact, which I think some people, because you could argue this is very creative and artsy decision to make in a film, to have all these non-linear flashbacks, but they do basically for every flashback tell you 11 years prior, 12 years prior, 48 hours prior, but they do it in a way that's like so subtle. It's in bold, wide font. It immediately disappears, so it's not distracting from the artsiness of the film, which I think sometimes that kind of can distract from it, but it still kept you in focus. You're like, oh, I know where we're at now. Oh, now we're here. Oh, now we're going back here. And it never was confusing, which I think sometimes that style can be confusing.
Yeah, they did a good job of putting a bit of text to let you know where we were in the timeline and where we were location-wise.
Yeah.
Which made it easier, especially if they did. I think there were some where they like went back to one flashback and then they went to a different one and then they went back to that one we had already seen some of. Like they jumped around a bit.
Yeah.
And it was easy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, hard to pull off, like you were saying. Like, I never once was confused, which was super cool.
Yeah, and normally I get confused easily, and I wasn't confused, so I feel like that was a big win.
Yeah, that's a good sign when Jess isn't confused.
Well, normally I walk away and I'm like, oh, I don't understand what happened there, but I didn't have that experience.
I will say, I went into this film being like, it's gonna be hot, it's gonna be kind of gay, it's gonna be sexy and whatever. And then I sat down and I was like, shit, it's also gonna be about tennis. And then when I left, I was like, that was a beautiful lesson in storytelling. Like
Yeah.
and also it was hot and sexy and about tennis. But I just wasn't expecting that to be my takeaway.
Yeah. I really, 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 I think it's a good point to bring this up. I really, really loved the way this film was shot. Not only was it the way the story was told, but it was also the way it was shot, which led to the storytelling. It almost looks like in the tennis scenes, they like strapped a GoPro on the person playing tennis. And that's what you were watching. So you saw almost from the perspective of the person hitting the racket. So it was, a little shaky, but not in a motion sickness way, but it like added to the intensity of you watching the match and you saw the ball fly across. I don't know. It was just done really well.
It felt like a love letter to tennis, which is
Yeah.
why I was so surprised that it was made by the team that it was, because I don't think any of them are, I mean, I don't know them. Some of them could be a tennis enthusiast, but that's not the impression I've gotten.
Yeah.
I need to do more research. I saw some people saying that this film was partly inspired by like the Williams sisters playing in qualifiers, and also I think it might have been the writer, one of the creatives involved in the production of it, saw like they were watching a tennis match and saw a very serious looking wife like at the front watching, making that expression that Tashi does in the present day storyline, and they were wondering like, why is she so stressed? Like, she's rich, her family has a foundation, all of this stuff. And then they looked her up and found out she was a tennis player in her own right who had an injury that prevented her from a career.
Oh.
So that was like a big inspiration. I don't know. I guess I just would have expected people who do more like sports stuff, because it's like you were saying, it's shot in such an interesting way. There are definitely times when there's something like a GoPro, but probably way nicer, strapped to a person playing tennis. There's times, the only time I got kind of motion sick at the end, where they strap it to a ball and it's bouncing around, and I didn't love that. But there's also this really cool fucking shot that's like you're looking up from the bottom of the court. Like they would have had a court made of glass and cameras underneath it filming the players. That was cool. That was cinematic as hell.
Yeah, just like the use of slow-mo, but then with the fast pace, it just really kept your interest in all the scenes, not just the hot sexual ones, not just the tense moments. Like you were even interested in just the tennis scenes because of the way it was shot. At least I was. I was.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
And to add to that was the soundtrack, the score. It's like iconic. Although my only note about it was dramatic ass music, but it was very like electro dramatic, like right. It was like everything. I've seen a lot of people be like, I need that music to play every time I step out.
Yeah. Or like good getting ready music, good like pregame music. Like it is like pump up music, but then it's complemented with moments where like when we have that Atlanta scene with Tashi and Patrick, and it's like more of a like, not a ballad, but it is like a slower song. And so there are moments like that where they match the really like upbeat beats of the score with slower songs to kind of create like a well-rounded picture with the music, which I really liked.
Justice for Zendaya, though, in that scene where she's dancing to, what is it, Nelly's Hot in Here, she said it was not that song when she was dancing while they filmed. They played that song later. She was like, I would not have danced that way to that song.
Oh,
She was like, let's set the record straight. I know how to dance.
That's funny.
But it didn't actually look that bad.
No, it didn't.
Everyone is so hot, and my gay ass was thriving. Like,
Yeah.
Yes, it's hot. It's a hot film, as people said. It's not as sexual. You know what's funny is when I left, my friend was like, I didn't expect it to be that horny, but also it wasn't as horny as I expected. In like
It was
a weird
way less horny than I expected.
Yeah.
Like way less. I expected, especially because my experience of Luca is Call Me By Your Name. I haven't watched any of the other films, and Call Me By Your Name is a very horny film. I get that it was a book adaptation, and the book is horny as hell too. But I
The
was
book is
expect-
hornier.
Yeah. But everyone talking about it and the scenes that they picked for the trailer and things like that, I was like, oh, this is going to be horny. And then I was like, oh, it's way less horny than I expected.
I think this is hornier than Call Me by Your Name.
No.
I don't think it's as explicit, but I think it's hornier. My friend did make the argument that it was less horny than she expected because it was more sex than she expected. That it was like less yearning if you're not being, if you're just already going for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Regardless, everyone was hot. And like, yes, there's like drama and you're like watching all of it, but like by the last scene when it's like really tense and you're just watching them play tennis and the GoPro goes on the ball or on their heads and it's like for a while it's just a lot of shots of the tennis and they stop the flashbacks because like we're in present day. I just kept getting distracted by how hot Josh O'Connor is.
Oh my
I was
God.
like, look at those arms, like everyone's so fucking hot.
Yeah. True.
Also, the dynamic of the throuple is very hot to me, like two assholes and one simp. I don't know.
Patrick and Tashi.
Oh yeah, Patrick and Tashi are the assholes.
Yeah.
And then Art's the simp. Yeah. Which I guess gets us into like, I feel in our overall impressions, we need to talk about the big three, right?
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, Tashi, and Art, and how you feel about them as characters and their relationships. Like, how did you feel about their relationship? For like, spoiler guys, they go off and on. So they meet Tashi, the boys meet Tashi, they're both instantly in love with her. And she says, whoever wins the match tomorrow can get my number. And then that begins a long distance relationship with Patrick. And then they break up. And then she ends up with Art and they get married. But then she cheats on him a couple times with Patrick. And like, it's a never ending cycle. But also there's homoerotic tension between Patrick and Art. And very early on, she does make sure that they are gay for each other. Well, Jess, what did you feel?
Okay, are we just saying... This is so hard because I actually think that I don't like Tashi as a character.
Okay.
I don't think she's a good person. I think she's very manipulative. Regardless, I still think Zendaya's portrayal was amazing and I still loved the story. But if we're just isolating the characters, yeah, she's very, very manipulative. She makes very questionable decisions for this person who's like seems to be so grounded as a coach. And she's just a mean wife. Like she should have never got married if that was going to be her focus.
Tashi Duncan is not supposed to be a good person.
Yeah, I know that.
Although I do have to ask the question, do female characters need to be likable?
No, that's why I wanted to preface. I still liked Zendaya's portrayal and I still loved the movie. But also, like, I'm like, oh, this character, she's not a good character. But you're right. They don't need to be not all characters are there to be likable. And the story would have not been the story it was if that character was made to be likable.
I think she's a good character, a bad person.
Yeah.
She's a well-written character.
Yeah.
Even though she is an asshole and manipulative, I understood her motivation.
Oh, yeah.
I understood, like, where she was coming from. I saw an interviewer tell Zendaya, like, I'm absolutely obsessed with you, but I want to kill that Tashi. And Zendaya cracked up.
I don't know if I felt that strongly, but yeah.
Okay. Patrick, how do you feel about Patrick? Oh, wait. While you're thinking about that, I had one other thought, which is I wonder how much Zendaya could relate to Tashi, thinking about how she was like growing up acting and started acting at such a young age. And if there was any I feel like she must have thought about, well, what would have happened if I couldn't have continued my career and if I had failed and how frustrated would I be?
Yeah. Like a little bit of leaning on her own personal experience to put herself in that situation.
Yeah. Patrick.
I like the Patrick character because I feel like he's the glue.
Okay.
Wow.
Even though they kick him out for so long?
Yeah. But you could tell, in all those final match scenes, he needs to be there. He's part of them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they both, Art kicked him out of his life. Tashi did for the most part, but has a few moments of relapsing, I guess you would say. Yeah, I thought he was really not even well written, but very well acted because he does have some very comedic moments, like the Dunkin' Donuts bagel scene.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I liked him. What did you think?
I love him. He has great chemistry with Zendaya. They said the first scene they shot for this was the Atlanta scene. People were like, oh, so you just had insane chemistry straight off the bat. And I think that that's like the charm of the film, is that you know inherently that Art is a better person, but also Tashi sucks anyway. And also she and Patrick just have this like crazy chemistry. I also just like, I love a chaotic bisexual man.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what he is.
Oh, 1,000%. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. And I don't think he deserved to be ostracized the way that he was, because like, so he's ostracized because she injures herself after like during a match after they break up, or have a fight.
Yeah.
But I like, that's not his fault.
No, it's not his fault. Like, she probably would have gotten injured regardless.
Yeah, because she plays too fucking hard.
Yeah.
What did you think about Art?
He's just a little cutie, but you know, I think that he could like grow a pair.
He's so the scene where she walks in after sleeping with Patrick and he is sleeping with their daughter in bed is so cute.
So cute.
But he's not completely innocent. Like, he does clearly get off on the tension between the three of them.
Oh, yeah. And there are scenes that we see without Tashi that are just Art and Patrick, and there's tension between the two of them.
Yeah, and in the university storyline, when Art is talking to Patrick about his relationship with Tashi and like how, you know, he kind of mentioned that like, oh, Patrick doesn't love you, and she says, what makes you think I want to be loved? This, and Patrick's like, you're really enjoying this. Like, you're really getting off on this.
Mm-hmm.
I have in our notes to mention later, but on the press tour, Zendaya and Josh O'Connor have been like throwing Art under the bus of like, no, Art's the true villain because he's the one that planted the seeds that caused the fight, that caused the injury. He's the like master manipulator, just so that he could like scoot in.
It's not wrong. He kind of is.
Yeah, basically everyone sucks, but everyone's hot and they all need each other. Like, that was my takeaway on this relationship.
Yeah. Art was playing the long game.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell those first times when they met that Zendaya, well, Tashi was more drawn to Art as a person.
Yes.
But chemistry-wise to Patrick.
Yes.
Because she would always look more at Art.
Mm-hmm.
But then she would, yeah. It always felt like Patrick was the third.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that they were in a relationship that was long distance.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know. To me, I'm like, there had to be some shenanigans on the side during that relationship because they both didn't seem all in either.
Yeah. But I think like Art was the type of person she wanted and Patrick was the type of player she wanted.
Yes. Yes.
Because Patrick is naturally more talented than Art. And I think he likes that she challenges him.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they should all just like be a throuple, or was there a particular relationship you were rooting for?
I think when we talk about the ending, we should discuss this.
Okay. Moments of note. I have to say this. When they first all meet, Tashi is 18.
Mm-hmm.
The power that this 18-year-old has.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of when I was watching those scenes. I was like, she is 18.
Yeah, she's very commanding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She has those boys making out with their best friend right in front of her, and she's getting off on it, and she's 18.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she gets up and leaves. It's like, all right, I'm done here.
I didn't even know that was possible when I was 18. Like, all the things I could have been doing with my life.
Sure.
But like, fair, I would do that shit for her too. I would love a woman to boss me around.
I feel like I more want to boss people around. I don't want to be bossed around. I want to be Tashi.
I want to be Tashi with a man or Art with a woman.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
I was saying my type, like, I don't really have a type with a man, but they can't boss me around. But but with a woman, I love all women. But any like a brunette with resting bitch face that looks like she could ruin my life, I would absolutely let ruin my life.
Yeah. I wrote Luca loves a sexual food scene. Everyone who knows Call Me by Your Name knows the peach scene, but we get quite a few. We get a scene of Art and Patrick sitting on like the bench by the court, eating bananas and looking at each other while they're eating their bananas. And we also get a churro scene where they're sharing the churro.
Well, they're eating too, but then Patrick's like eating Art's, and then it's like, they're so close. They're always so close.
Yeah, they're basically sitting in each other. They're as close to each other without sitting in each other's laps. That's how close they are.
And it's so sexual.
Yeah, it's fair. The churro scene is, up there.
I also just really love that Patrick is always the one that, like, I think he's more comfortable with his sexuality than Art is. Because I think we also see him when he's on Tinder and he's like is swiping on guys as well.
Yeah.
And he's the one that comes up close with the churros. And then later when they're in the sauna, he stands right in front of him with his dick out.
Yeah.
And Art never like initiates that, though he does clearly enjoy it.
He enjoys it, but he also shuts it down, like in the locker room scene where he's like, can you put that away, please? Like, what are you doing?
He's like, I'm a grown-up now.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
Which, like, yes, you do. Anyway, I thought the branding was really smart because, like, what has more branding than professional sports, truly?
Yes. I was like, normally I complain whenever there's obvious branding because it drives me crazy a little bit. Mm-hmm. But in this one, I was like, well, I can't really complain because if you were to go to a professional tennis match, there would be more branding than this.
Yeah. I mean, the Duncan was unnecessary, but it was hilarious.
It was unnecessary, but I loved it.
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't even look like a good sandwich, but okay. I literally looked up on the shoe brand because they sponsor Art, and I only really started noticing them in the last like year or so. So I was like, would they have been sponsoring a tennis player in 2019? But they would, I guess. I think it works. They made up 6% of the U.S. running shoe or athletic shoe industry as of 2020.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, On is his sponsor. Uniqlo is his clothing sponsor, which I didn't know they did sports sponsorships, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially for tennis. And then they have that, like, is it a Mercedes ad?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think. And that is very real. Like, you see her editing it, and then it's up on billboards and stuff. And, like, yeah, that would be part of your life.
Yeah, it's done in a way that the branding feels not like they're, besides the Duncan one, it doesn't feel like they're just trying to fit in the branding for the film. It feels more like the branding is a part of the film.
Yeah, which is also smart. It's smart as a filmmaker because then you can more easily get brand deals, and then it's also good representation because you're showing the things being used for what they're supposed to be used for.
Yeah. I guess now is a better time than ever to talk about the ending, even though we have a few notes after this, but that's okay. So the ending is left up to interpretation. You don't know who won the match. You don't know what happens to the three of them in their relationships. You don't know anything. And both the writer and Luca have gone and said, like, this was intentional. Doesn't this make a beautiful story? Like, isn't that just great that it's up to whatever people want? Which is why we mentioned earlier, we don't think there will be a second because it was intentionally left on this. No, I have to say for me, I like my movies and shows with the pretty little bow. Close it up, give me the endings. And so it was hard for me to accept that it didn't give me like literally the first words out of my mouth when it left. I looked at my husband and I was like, oh, I wanted more from that ending. And then the more I marinated on it, I was like, that was a very smart and clever creative decision, especially for this throuple plot line, because it really can be whatever you want it to be. But in the moment, I was like, why?
I do think Art won the match.
So it's not, see, that's up to your interpretation.
I didn't realize that. I knew the throuple relationship thing was, but I didn't realize that the match was because it ends on him scoring, and I thought they were like at the very end.
He's touching the net in his hand, and that is not allowed in tennis. So it would be a foul. Yeah. Because when he's up over the net and he has his hand on the net.
Oh, when I left the theater, my friend that I was with said she played tennis in high school and that's allowed. The like jumping over the net.
I think you can jump over. It's if you touch the net physically. So you can jump up over, but then if your body touches the net, that's not what is allowed. But yeah, there is no, I would say I initially interpreted it the same that Art won, mostly because I wanted him to, because Tashi leaves the thread of, if you don't win, then we're not together. And I'm like, no, I want you guys to be together, but also I want Patrick to be part of this. But that is what I took away from that. Especially with her scream after, you're like, oh, of course this means he won. But no, it's technically it can be whoever you want.
Interesting. Yeah, I think when I left the theater, I was like, I don't think Jess is going to like that ending, because I know that you like things to be wrapped up.
Yeah.
I love an open ending. I did think it was an interesting choice because it's an almost 2-hour film built entirely off of the tension of will they, won't they, what's going to happen with both the match and the relationship. So for those things to be unanswered is a strong choice. Like, you're going to probably have people upset with that. But I also understand why they did it, because I don't think that I would be entirely satisfied knowing either one of them won, or knowing, like, I was fine thinking Art won, but knowing like what happened with the relationship, I don't think there's any way that I would feel entirely satisfied by that. And I kind of like that then the point is just to tell their story to how they got to here, not how it progresses,
Yeah.
It's like a look inside of a relationship more than anything.
Yeah. Creatively, I can appreciate it after the fact. I needed to sleep on it. In the moment, it was not the ending that I wanted, but that's just because I know I like things tied in a bow. But also, like, I'm not the director, I'm not the writer, I'm not the one who gets to decide if that is the creative decision to tie things in a bow. I'm just here to appreciate the art. And so I think in reflecting, I was able to appreciate it. But in the moment, I was definitely one of those that was like, what the heck?
Yeah, I knew when you were watching it, and you didn't text me that night after you saw it, and I was like, oh, I don't know what happened. Like, maybe she's not ready to talk about any of it.
Mostly I just didn't want to bother you because I didn't get out until almost 2 a.m. your time. And I was like, she's sleepy.
Yeah. And I do like that point that you made, because I know a lot of people in my book club sometimes will be like, oh, I just wish that the author had done this instead. And it's like, that's not what they did. That's not what you're reading. That's not what you're watching. Like, meet the story where it's at.
Yeah. I have to remind myself of music, that with music all the time, that I'm like, oh, this album wasn't my favorite. But it's like, I'm not the only fan, and they're not making art actually for any of their fans. They're making the art for themselves. So maybe this is the art that they needed to make. And you can recognize, like, oh, maybe that decision wasn't for me, but it doesn't mean it was bad or wrong. It just wasn't the music or the film or the book decision that you resonate with the most. But that doesn't make it like a bad creative decision.
Yeah. And I think it did a good job of sort of foreshadowing how the film was going to go. The first flashback where Tashi's explaining to them that tennis is a relationship.
Yes.
And everything on the court that happens for a moment, you two are in a dance in a relationship, and you are the closest to each other, because then it goes on to just talk about their relationship or show their relationship. And, relationships don't just end. There is no such thing as a happily ever after. So I think, like, even if we gotta, like, oh, they stay married and like Patrick's around, we still wouldn't really
wouldn't give us the answers. Yeah,
because there aren't any. Okay, we have a silly note about Lily, and then I have a note that I forgot to put in this it's gonna be a question for you, so you get to go and put in your Lily note.
Okay, Lily asks Tashi and Tashi's mom, her grandma, if she can watch Spider-Verse. And I just thought that was a very, like, fun moment to be like, oh, this is Zendaya playing Tashi. So she's going to ask to, like, watch her mom, but it's not her mom. I don't know. It was one of those fun moments.
I also liked it because it was Spider-Verse, which she's not in. That's the animated one. But it's still a nod to her career. But it's the animated one. It was cute. Everyone in my theater giggled. I have a question, because I didn't think about this when I watched it, and then I saw it on Twitter as discourse.
Yeah.
Who do you think is Lily's dad? Because the timeline works out with Atlanta that it could have actually been Patrick.
Oh, interesting. They also don't show her enough for you really to know, but you also don't see her be that sexual with Art like she is with Patrick.
I mean, surely they have sex, right?
Well, yeah.
Or did when
Yeah.
they were young.
I would like to believe it was Art, but I feel like there is a timeline that exists in which it was Patrick.
But I love that it leads to the open-endedness.
Yeah.
They just all belong together. One of my favorite things is like so in this guys, this is the big spoiler. Okay, this is the big spoiler. This is the moment that like the whole theater was tense.
Yeah.
Is there's this like really long drawn out serve that Patrick's about to do, and you just find out from a flashback that like Tashi just slept with him the night before, and you're wondering is he going to do it because there's this like serve thing that he did in a previous flashback that showed Art that he had slept with Tashi, and so it's so drawn out as he like bounces the ball and prepares the racket, and I was just like, he's gonna do it, and then I could hear the people next to me who came together be like moving their hands to where the symbol that he made, and they were like whispering about it, and I was like, yeah, he's gonna do it, and then he did it, and we all were like, oh my god,
Yeah.
and we're squealing.
I wasn't even connecting that he was going to do it until my husband was like, oh, he's going to do the signal with the serve. Just wait. And I was like, it is what's coming.
Yeah, I was like, he has to do it. If he hadn't done it, it would have been so unsatisfying. And then I loved this. So he does the symbol to show Art that like, I just fucked your wife last night.
Yes.
And Art literally says, fuck off. And then starts playing for real. Like, it's like he got all of his motivation back. And that's my like favorite part about his character, and why I say he is complicit and he gets off on all of this is he is struggling in his career, wants to retire, unmotivated, but he finds out that his estranged best friend fucked his wife, and suddenly he's like, let's fucking go, and he's like and that lets him to win the game. And it's not even
he's
like the
fueled off of anger,
but it doesn't look angry as much as it looks excited.
Yeah, true.
It's just like my favorite part about him. Like, he couldn't have won if he didn't know.
No.
Anyway, that was those are the big moments that we had to talk about. Did you want to get into fun facts?
Yeah, so it was nominated for Next Big Thing for the 2024 Queerties, and then Zendaya, Josh, and Mike spent 3 months training with Brad Gilbert, who's a pro tennis player turned coach, in order to prep for this role, which I think makes sense because there are certain ways in which they stand that look like how an athlete would present themselves and how an athlete would behave. And I'm sure they had stand-in and doubles for some of the more like hardcore tennis scenes, but it makes sense that they spent so long training with someone to kind of get in that mindset and know how to like personify that.
Yeah, plus these are all actors that are known for really going in on their roles, so it makes sense that they would take it that seriously.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite behind the scenes to come out of this is Zendaya training for this. She's talked about how she kind of went about it like dance, and there are clips of her on a tennis court next to an actual tennis player, and Zendaya just has the racket and no one's hitting a ball at her, but the tennis player is playing tennis, and she is matching her like move for move, just mimicking everything she does.
Yeah. Impressive.
It's so cool. And they're like in beat with each other too. She's not even falling behind in any way. It's like a choreographed dance.
Wow. Yeah.
So those are our notes on challengers. Do you have any final thoughts, Jess?
No, it was good. Also, like, I told Amanda this ahead of time, I really did not know what my husband was gonna, like, think of it, because I didn't know what to expect, so I didn't know how to prepare him, and I thought he was gonna be like, why did you drag me to this weird movie? But even yesterday, which was a couple days after we watched it, he was like, that was one of the best movies I've seen in a while. So it was really good. Like, it was better than I expected.
Yeah, I was really excited when I left, thinking about how this is probably the big summer blockbuster, at least until like the actual like Marvel type blockbusters come out. It's leading us into that summer season, and that so many people are just going for Zendaya and like the throuple of it all. And it actually is a really good film. Like, that made me excited because I miss good cinema.
Yeah.
Not to say that like big blockbusters like Marvel don't have a place. Like, I love Marvel movies, actually. I am one of the few that does still. And I love the Barbie movie, and I think those have a place as well. But I also want movies like this.
Yeah, it's so artsy, but it's done so well, and everyone involved, you could tell, gave it 100%, and it just, it created such a beautiful piece of art. Like, people should go watch it. It's not hitting the numbers that they had suspected so far, so like, definitely go watch it. Bump up those box office numbers, because I would like to see more movies like this.
Yes, please. My last note is I'm dreading and also looking forward to how much tennis fashion we're going to see this summer. I'm wearing a skirt. If you're listening, you don't know. If you're watching the video, you don't know because I'm sat down, but I'm wearing my one and only skirt for this. And I just feel like we're going to see a lot of them this summer.
Totally. I also think with the rise of pickleball, I think, it's just all connected. We're going to get tennis fashion. Up next, we are going back into our classic content, but we finished off Sweet Life. So we are starting Life with Derek. So you'll get the first half of season 1 in the next episode. I have never seen Life with Derek, so I'm really excited for this one. Amanda's watching season 1 right now. So we're looking forward to it.
I grew up watching it, so I can't wait to hear what Jess's first impressions are.
As always, please, please, please rate and review wherever you listen on Apple or Spotify. It really, really helps our podcasts get noticed by others. Also, please follow us on all our social media, 90s Babies Nostalgia. Spell out the word 90s on YouTube and Instagram, but on TikTok, use the numbers there. Comment, DM, engage with us. We love chatting with you all. If you watch Challengers, tell us what you thought. And with that, we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.